Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'm Henry Barajas. This is Contrary to Henry. I am trying to do this once a week because I have a new book coming out, Helm Grey Castle. I prefer people ask me all the time, how can I support you? I always say go to your local comic book store. Um, that's where I started my career. Charlie's Comics, Heroes and Villains, Fantasy Comics, Our Galaxy in Tucson, Arizona. Atomic Comics was where I got to meet a lot of my favorite creators, which had a long-lasting impression on me. So I always want to try to give back to that experience. And there's always a good community at your local comic book store. So I say support them if you can't. It's currently for pre-order through Collector's Paradise. If you Google Collector's Paradise Helm Grey Castle, you have the opportunity to get either cover A's or cover B's of 1 through 4. I'm going to be personally signing those books here in Los Angeles, and you can buy them wherever you want. You can also check, Midtown Comics, a lot of digital distributors, Things from Another World. We do have a Things from Another World cover that I like a lot. So we have 6 covers for this. Excuse me, plus 7, including the Kickstarter cover. So go to your local comic book store, let them know. topcowstore.com. There's a pre-order button for all covers that are available through the direct market. So yes, this is why I'm doing this, is to promote myself. Shameless promotion. This is just, and also to talk to friends that I normally would get to see at comic book conventions, parties, karaoke events, and what have you. This is a special week because a friend of mine, Tina Horn, launched her first Kickstarter, and we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the Echo Park situation, which I've been living in Los Angeles for 6 years now. It's become a second home. Tucson's always going to be my forever home, my hometown. I always represent Tucson, but LA is where I get my mail, which I got mail from a friend, Brent. This is a little mail time, like Blue's Clues. Let's see what we got here. I want to send him. Thank you for ordering Girl Scout cookies online from Millie. How sweet. Yes, I bought like 10 Girl Scout cookie boxes, and it came with a Prince Minotaur sticker. Thank you, Millie. Thank you, Brent. If you want to send me mail, send me a direct message, and I will send you my mailing address. With that, I'm going to bring in my special guest, and that's Tina Horn.
Hello.
Hey.
That Prince sticker rules.
Right? Look at that.
Fucking amazing.
That's really cool.
I would rack that. Henry,
Yeah,
I want to ask you. Ask me
whatever you want.
I have a question for you. I'm just
sure.
like hosting from
please
the
take
guest
over.
seat.
You're the host.
My favorite, my current favorite like question or like conversation topic to like allow myself like a little bit of hope in this like springtime as people are getting the jab.
Right.
Is what will be your first karaoke song? Karaoke again. You mentioned me.
Well, I did get the vaccine yesterday, the first shot.
Mazel. How you feeling?
Yeah. I felt a little crummy this morning, but not too bad, which allowed me to stay in bed a little longer, which is probably good for me. I'm up usually pretty early. But luckily I've been very active on my bicycle, and I think that has helped me, I'm all constantly rushing blood through my heart at a furious pace. So I didn't want to post a picture because I wanted to kind of talk about this too. I get kind of pissed off when I see people post pictures, just not because they got the vaccine, or because I'm super jealous. And I'm very happy that they got it, but also I feel like the rollout has been so frustrating, where like if you are not getting the vaccine, it's because you're not in this group that, people that really need it, like first responders, grocery store workers that didn't get it when they should have, who have been working throughout this whole thing. it just kind of like, it feels like there's like a level of
Status,
importance. Yeah, exactly.
like
And
elitism. Yeah. Do
yeah,
you feel, let me ask you, do you feel like that's balanced out by, or like potentially, like ethically could be balanced out, like on the, I guess, like on the grander, like ethical scale, by the fact that maybe you and I like take for granted how many fucking ignorant bigots there are out there who
right.
like think all kinds of things that I won't even like entertain right now about getting vaccine. And also, I don't know, I'm finding myself thinking about um people in voting right now, where
Yeah,
like the logistics of getting vaccinated are just like it's a chore, right?
it
And
is.
so I can see people not getting vaccinated for the same reason that people don't vote, where they're like, well, enough people will do it that like I'm assuming that like everything will work out right in the end. And that is a place of privilege to come from, whether it's the
That
vaccine or voting or whatever. And so like we're all, it's the collective body and we're all in this together. So I feel like if more people are motivated to take the time to get vaccinated, especially so that then also like shots aren't going to waste and all of that stuff, that like
exactly.
maybe that's like a net positive. And also we like live in a world where like social media status is like
Pretty important to
it's
certain people.
very, yeah, I mean they
Without it,
literally
I
call it
can't make
clout.
money. I And as what we are going to dive into, congratulations on your Kickstarter. And I am very honored to have had a very small role in helping you take that plunge,
you
because
I would no, go ahead, you were going to say
I
something,
believe
tell what you
that
believe.
comics needs to become a more direct to consumer product. And um, also, as I champion comic book stores, they are very essential, because without it, you wouldn't have had an audience to bring this to, because this was a direct market, single issue, then trade paperback. Now you're able to, get money up front. Probably what a 1990s book deal would be, like a draw, or something. You would get some money up front to pay everyone, to make sure everyone gets paid to make this book. So congratulations. I'm going to share a screen while you pitch this series,
Cool.
uh and then please finish what you're going to say, because I didn't mean to
Oh,
interrupt you.
I was just gonna say that, I would recommend your consulting skills to anyone, and I am very grateful that I had you as a resource. And really sort of like when I was in, you got me over that hump of like I've got all these swirling strategies and all this
Hmm.
information, and people telling me you absolutely have to do this, and like blogs saying this, and looking at other Kickstarters that I've backed, which I do want to put out there that like I made a new profile under the Tina Horn sort of platform for this, and so it says that I've backed 0 Kickstarters, even though I've been backing
Right. I can
indie comics like under another profile for years and years.
I
So
agree.
I hope that nobody like trips out about that. But because it's like right there, it's back to
That
0
is the
other
thing.
projects. It's like no,
You're
no, no.
right.
Like
You're right.
I
That is
really,
a
I
thing.
really care.
If someone's launching a Kickstarter and they haven't backed any, sometimes people get turned off by that. But I am very grateful that you have backed Helm Grey Castle, Loveless de
Yes, that's true.
Mayo.
That's
So
true. You
I
can
can
attest.
publicly, yeah, attest.
um, yeah, so as
So
you can
let's
see,
move that
if you
then.
are looking at this Kickstarter, Henry really just has like amazing instincts for when we should do a live stream, because we launched on um, March 15th of midnight, I guess midnight March 14th, and today is March 27th, so it's less than 2 weeks into a month-long campaign. And as you can see, we are 99% funded as of right this
That is
second.
incredible.
Now,
That's such a great
now,
place to be.
if it's a great place to be, and I'm just so grateful to that. Like you can also see her 500 plus people who have backed it, and it would be amazing if anybody is watching this live on the
If
many
you're
platforms that it's
watching,
going out on,
if
and
you're
it's just
watching
like, why
live
don't
and
we
you're able to, yeah, nudge
just
it, nudge it a
like, we're
little.
just you're like, don't tease. I'm done being teased. Like, just send us over the edge. I wish I could, my instinct, and we can get into this, my background is in sex work and like lots of different live performances. That's something that I've missed out on a lot in the past year, from karaoke to other kinds of adult entertainment. But my first karaoke song, the next time I'm able to do live karaoke, will be Santa Monica by Everclear. Like a song that
Oh,
I can scream
wow.
to. I was
That is a
hiking in the
good
Santa Monica
one.
Mountains the other day, and I was like, that's it. That's the one. And then I think I'll be, depending on, I'm imagining that there will be like really long lists and that everyone will only get one song. But if I can do a duet, I think I'll probably do
That's great.
Islands in the
That's
Stream.
great.
Islands in the Stream has been a jam around here lately. But okay, so anyway, what was I saying about sex work? Oh yeah, I like, my instinct is to be like, if we hit 20K on this live stream, like, I'll take off my pants. But it's like, well, first of all, is she wearing pants right now? Maybe she's.
Yeah, is she? We don't know. We don't know. We'll find if we hit 20K. We'll find out if she's wearing pants.
I mean, I will stand up and show you what I am wearing, and I don't know what the terms of service are for StreamYard, but I think I'm technically street legal. I'm technically street legal, but it's maybe.
On YouTube, I've made sure that it is like that. We're gonna curse. That it is not, because there is that button that says, "Is this for all ages?" It's not, but it's
I'm very
also
familiar with that button.
Yeah. So, so like, why don't you pitch people?
Sure, totally. So SfSx is, which we stylize in print when we write it out and type it out online as SfSx to make it a little easier to Google, and also because sometimes on certain platforms when you write sex, the algorithm suppresses you. So SfSx or SfSx.
That's true.
It's true. That's why we like to use my friend Jack the Stripper. I don't know if she was the first person to start using it, but she was the first person that I saw to start using the saxophone emoji. So we'll write like sax.
That's good.
Workers. It's good.
I like that.
So SfSx is a science fiction dystopian action adventure story. It takes place in a not too distant future, San Francisco, and it is about a government where it's about an America where the government is policing and surveilling and bureaucratizing sexuality like out of existence in both public and private spaces. It's definitely, the dystopian elements of this story are very much based on my real life experiences, both in the Bay Area and New York City and LA and a lot of different places that I've lived. And of course, like online communities and being connected to the global sex worker rights movement and global queer rights movements. And so it's based on my work in the industry. It's based on my work as a nonfiction writer and reporter. And then my work, being involved in both art and activism in sort of sex rebel movement building. So it's all of those things, and it's lots of politics, and it's lots of like, sort of the social thriller style satire. But there's definitely, I have lots of platforms to talk about those things in very serious terms. And so, SfSx is also an opportunity to bring a lot of like the other things that I love about genre fiction, like action, like tension, like ultra violence and gore and horror and romance and melodrama and humor and like weird sci-fi stuff and weird tech and like cyberpunk stuff and everything. So as you were saying, the first 7 issues came out in floppy form, published by Image, and then collected by Image in trade paperback, which is called SfSx Terms of Service. That is available now wherever fine books and comic books are sold, and on the internet as well. And like Henry said, I can't stress enough calling your local bookseller and local comic book store and letting them know that you're interested, and if you are interested, letting them know that you're interested in that book and Henry's book, and especially books that have creators who come from any marginalized community. In my case, that's just like literally being a woman, writer creator, and also being a queer woman and being an out sex worker. There's plenty of creatives in this world who make work that you love, who may have done sex work or something that people would consider to be sex work at some point in their careers, who can't be out about it or choose not to be out about it because of the intense stigma against it. And that stigma is definitely something that I face and experience, but I have made a deliberate decision to be out in my work because so much of my work is about the same themes that I explored as a sex worker, and also because I am white and I am cisgender, and there are many privileges that I have that I really want to try to leverage to make the world a less whorephobic place. So anyway, when, I have definitely experienced a lot of censorship of the sex work content of my work, the queer content of my work, the like fetish and kink, and just like explicit sexuality in my work, whether it is intended to arouse or just be like a political or philosophical discussion about sexuality. I've experienced a lot of censorship around those things. So when you call your local bookseller and comic book seller and say, I'm interested in safe sex, I'm interested in this book, I'm interested in stories told by women and like not only told by in terms of writer creators, but also the art teams, I'm interested in stories told by queer people, then that not only means that you get to get the book through them and support your local bookseller, but it means that then they're like, oh, people are interested in this, so we're going to buy more books, and that means more people can discover it. I just got a text this morning from a friend of mine who is living in a like small rural town in upstate New York, who made sure that another book that I co-edited, We Too, which is a nonfiction anthology about a sex worker stories, that they made sure that book was available there, and they said that other people had come in and asked about it. So
that's rad.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I feel like I'm talking about a bunch of different things, but I do want to I do want to talk about I definitely want to talk about the new book and the new art team. But yeah, I'm rambling.
No, I mean, that was a perfect ramble. I mean, you went into a lot of things that I think are important to, as a fellow cis identify person, it's important that there are some things we're not facing that non-binary folks are facing and aren't getting the kinds of opportunities that we have.
That's right.
So I'm very, I do my best to find non-binary creators to work with, and it's hard because a lot of them folks kind of bow out because it's too hard to keep trying to survive in this industry. But totally. What I like about this series is I inherited, my mom dated a ex-con who lived with us for like a couple months, and he brought all his stuff with him. And when he went back to jail, I inherited about maybe a year or 2 years worth of Playboy magazines that I shouldn't have had at that young of age.
Listen, that's the way that we used to discover porn.
Yeah.
Find a box of magazines,
street porn
in the woods.
I have a story.
Your older sibling or your
exactly.
Your parents.
It's amazing what you'd find outside.
Yeah. So
after a while, I found out that those books had interviews, news, comics.
Oh, so you were reading them for the articles?
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, I started
No,
reading them
some of the great 20th century journalism was happening in Playboy.
in Playboy.
It's more than a joke.
It is, and when
And
I
also like like the idea that you would want to like look at pictures of sexy ladies and like then also read an interview with like Gore Vidal
yeah
is, the idea that that's like funny, that like being intellectual, being literary, being political, and also like having a libido are like should be compartmentalized,
yeah
is just, I mean, it's just false.
right. I agree, and I wanted to be a writer like that. I wanted to operate in that kind of space where they were getting away with more things and saying things you couldn't say elsewhere, and a lot of people's guards would be let down because they were saying things they didn't think anyone would ever read, you know,
Totally.
in
Oh,
these
that's
magazines.
interesting. That's funny.
So when I read your work, as you know, online and this comic, it brings me back to that moment
Oh,
of
that's
like
cool.
that I get to enjoy what you're talking about, and also you have the creative flex to inject like cliffhangers and amazing moments and scary things. You're like, oh, I grew to appreciate this character, and I think they're gonna die at the end of this issue. And so let's talk about what you have planned for this upcoming series that people can kickstart now.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, my friend. And that's I haven't heard that one yet. That makes me feel really good to know that is what this series and my work reminds you of, because that is totally that like sort of collapsing the like highbrow and lowbrow, or like bringing highbrow analysis to like lowbrow culture or vice
Right.
versa, is like totally what I'm all about. And like the distinction between those things is totally like a classist invention anyway. So let's just like put it all together. And thank you for what you were saying about like, oh, I like care about these characters and there's like cliffhangers. I mean, this was the project where I learned how to write fiction. All of my like literary training is in nonfiction. So this was new for me, and I'm glad to know that it's working
Yeah.
for
I
you.
mean, shout out to Amadeo, who I
Shout
think
out
had
to
a
Amadeo.
hand in this, as a close friend of mine. And the journey of this book had a bit of a hiccup. And one of the things that that brought us together was looking for a home for this, because it was going to be at Vertigo, which I have a huge love for. If it weren't for Vertigo, I wouldn't be making comics now. And
That is absolutely true. I have loved comics my entire life, despite only just recently becoming a comics creator. And there are so many different kinds of comics that I have loved, from like 80s X-Men to like, like Raw magazine, like weird underground counterculture stuff, and then like, you know, Canadian indie
I'm
stuff. But
jealous of
my
because
all
you being a New Yorker, you get access to a lot of cool comics out there.
that's definitely true. And I'm also like a lifelong like zine collector and zine lover, and just like, and but the minute I turned 18, I was like, take me to the back room of my local comic book store. I was like, I need to go behind that curtain. Everyone else was like, I want cigarettes. I was like, I want to go to the back room of the comic book store. But anyway, what I was going to say is that Vertigo is absolutely like, if I had to pick like one sort of like era genre, it would be that like 80s, 90s, like sci-fi horror, Vertigo books that I grew up on. That's my shit. So yeah,
Yeah.
and then getting the opportunity to develop. I think that if you are like me and like Henry, a fan of Vertigo books, across their like 25-year run, you will definitely see the influence of that, of those genres and styles
Yeah.
on Safe Sex. And it was, even though we didn't end up being published by Vertigo, I think that influence is really there. And then now that Vertigo doesn't exist anymore, it's like kind of bittersweet, but I feel like there's like a little bit of like
We're keeping it
DNA.
alive.
Yeah, exactly.
We're keeping it alive in spirit.
Totally.
And shout out to Jan Jones who brought us
Yes,
together.
totally.
Yeah, just one of my closest, dearest friends, and and you're a new Angelino, and how we
I
met
am.
was at Echo Park,
Yes, we met at
and
Echo Park, and we like sat. We went to the local black-owned coffee shop, got coffee, and then went and sat by the lotus flowers, and just like, I mean, it was that, I have to be honest, that was one of the only times since I've moved to LA that I've gotten to like get together with somebody for a
yeah,
hang. Just
we
like
were
something
like in
simple,
that
like,
window of wear a mask, be outside, it's safe, and then
yeah,
that window closed like I think the day after, where I mean
yeah,
it was pretty short lived on like what we would consider as safe. But
totally.
yeah, I love that park, and I have
I love that
since
part too.
met a friend or two outside with masks and enjoyed the sun, and watched and being in that space, it's kind of bohemian, it's a
Yeah,
beautiful space that's currently being harassed by local police, and I don't know if people are aware of what's happening right now, but due to the pandemic, we've seen a major, I mean, in my 5 years, there has been a major increase of homelessness and homeless encampments, and one of the big ones was in Echo Park, which you are a new resident to. And
yeah.
if you don't mind, like, have you seen what's happening down there? Are you? I mean, you're in the thick of it.
Well, I don't actually live in Echo Park anymore. I lived there last summer.
Oh,
But so it was like the place that I landed in LA. So I feel like whenever I move to a new place that I've never lived before, the first neighborhood that I live, even if I'm like crashing with friends, will always like hold very special place
that's
in
the
my
way I feel
heart because
about
it's like
Bushwick.
totally, total. Actually, it is Bushwick for me too. That was like
Oh,
where I
cool.
crashed when I first moved to New York a decade ago. It was very different then.
It was. I mean, even the 6 years ago when then I was there, it was,
Yeah,
not as, I mean, and that's what we're experiencing. So just what I also wanted to, before we end on this topic, but the Echo Park situation where there's a lot of homeless people, a lot of, just a lot of different uh, people clashing just in, mental illness, just people being displaced. That was a safe place for people to get food, hot showers, and the police and local politics there have attempted to uproot everyone there. And I was
violently.
watching an interview earlier where they are trying to mislead people by saying, if you come out, we'll send you to a hotel. But the hotel is in Downey, California, which is a 40 to 50-minute car ride, let alone if someone doesn't have the means of transportation. And
It's also a
it
total waste
also,
of money because it's not sustainable. I mean, there's so much to get into on this topic, but like if someone is experiencing homelessness, being given like a place for a few days can be a matter of life and death. But like in terms of the city putting resources into offering solutions to the local community, it actually, they're not offering sustainable long term and like solutions that respect the dignity of these people. They're being folks are being treated as less than human, and
that's true.
it's fucked. And um, I mean, I will say, as somebody who lived a short walk from Echo Park for a time, um, if you've ever been there, you know that it's like it's nowhere near the size of like a Central Park or a Golden Gate Park, but it's bigger than like a square, and there's like lots
Hmm.
of different, maybe more, I would say, like comparable to like Dolores Park in San Francisco, where there's sort of like different levels and different places, and there's a big lake in the middle, um, and there are, I mean, COVID has made the sort of like outdoor vending thing, like in some ways it's limited it, but in some ways outdoor vending, both in terms of food and drink and also like, you know, people's like crafts and goods, like it actually is maybe like the safest place to have a retail space, right? To have a retail exchange. So
Definitely.
there's sort of like fair, bizarre atmosphere to it. It's also the place in the past year that I have had the closest to a feeling of like people will just come and set up their DJ gear, and like you're having a dance party. And again, it's like you can actually have like a reasonably socially distanced dance party where like you're with your crew over here, and you know, and it's completely outdoors, and there's enough space to have that. And like that leads me to the fact that there is absolutely enough space. I'll speak for myself and say, if I'm in a park and like folks are staying in tents, or folks have like any kind of like community stuff set up, like you were saying, they have showers there, they have resources, they have all kinds of harm reduction resources, they have all kinds of food, and like I'm like, this is a public park, but like you've set up camp here, so I'm respecting your space. I'm not going to walk through your fucking backyard, right? Like you want to walk through somebody's backyard, like in their property, right? So I try to be fucking respectful of people and their space, actually like extra respectful, because I know that they're like probably not getting a lot of respect from people that they're sharing space within the park, and I know that they are getting harassed by the police, and I know that they're just more vulnerable to a lot of things that that those of us who are fortunate enough to have housing at the moment might take for granted. But also, like, if you were somebody who wanted to like go and like have a fucking picnic in this park, or like go for a run, or take your dog for a walk, or what the fuck ever in this park, like there is more than enough space for people to coexist. And like even if there wasn't, like you still fucking owe people fucking respect. But like you know, from, I guess what I'm saying is, from my perspective, like this kind of like cleaning up the park thing is just it's totally unnecessary, and it's obviously like it's obviously the kind of thing where people are like, they feel like they have to be, I mean, they're treating people who are experiencing homelessness as criminals, and to like bring it back to safe sex, and to bring it back to the work that I do in the realm of sex worker rights. You know,
1 second, I'm sorry, hold on, really quick.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Oh, wait, what happened?
God.
You hit your goal.
Wow, I definitely feel like an asshole celebrating making money when talking about people.
Hey,
talking about,
hey,
like,
so yeah, I mean, you know, don't worry, but still.
Thank you. I'm very happy that we can experience this together. Let me just say that, like, safe sex is a story of, I'm going to take a screenshot of that for later. Safe sex is a story of like civic infrastructures and what happens to marginalized people when they are working in informal economies. Most forms of sex work are criminalized in most parts of America, in many parts of the world, and people have all kinds of reasons for doing sex work, and they don't owe you an explanation for why they do the work that they do. But in general, when people are doing sex work, they're doing it to survive, just like anybody else does any other kind of work in order to survive. And when you are working in an informal economy and you are criminalized by the state, then you are constantly made to be less safe. And that is definitely one of the themes of the idea of safe sex and what makes safe sex. It's not just a pun about prophylactics. And what I have never experienced true homelessness, but I can definitely relate to being vulnerable to violent, sudden police raids that are actually where my life is completely disrupted and my life and community is at threat by the police and the state because someone has decided to make an example of me, and decided to make an example of my friends, my community, my comrades, my colleagues. And so, this is, I think, an example of how, when you care about one thing, maybe what you care about the most in this world right now is the movement for Black lives, and seeing how, like, intersectionally, what is going on with the state attacking people who are experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles right now is absolutely connected to the corruption of the LAPD, and is connected to the movement for Black lives, and it's connected to the sex worker rights movement, which is definitely connected to how so many different communities are responding to the murder spree in Atlanta last week. And like, shit is fucked, but there are a lot of people on the ground serving the communities who are vulnerable to this kind of persecution and violence. And I definitely recommend listening to them, supporting them. I actually talked to a friend of mine who does work in housing justice to get a recommendation for for a resource for people to both, like, learn more information about what's going on in LA right now, and also a really good place to donate. And that is Ground Game LA. So I'm looking at their website right now. It's groundgamela.org. I would definitely support them, fund them, check them out, and always listen to the people who have already, if you're just becoming aware of a social issue, listen to the people who have been doing the work for a while. It will save you time, and also save us time of repeating ourselves.
I mean, and what I love about, and one of the most important things about this Kickstarter and about you telling this story is that it's not that, this is not a get rich scheme. This is a get you paid, get your artist paid, your cover artist paid, the resources that you're making for your rewards, like your pins and various other rewards. So
yeah, we haven't
this
even
is
talked about that.
yeah. So, and I appreciate, that's one of the biggest things I think about. What's very transparent about Kickstarter is what you're paying for is what you're getting, and it's not a money grab. This is how do we get everyone paid before the book comes out, so we're not waiting on royalties to make sure anyone is compensated, that their people's rent are paid, and that they can afford to eat while they're creating art. So
absolutely. And that's why, it's been interesting. This is I've pledged a lot of Kickstarters before, but I've never run one. And I've learned a lot from you, and learned a lot from a lot of friends who have consulted formally and informally on this project. And I've definitely, I'm much more aware now of when people, very well-meaning people, are like, I donated today, right? And it's like, I like want to reach into, like, everybody, be like, it's not a donation. Like, donations are great. Please donate to worthy causes. But and if
there's a pledge.
some, I will take some. But you're backing it. You're supporting it. I mean, you're basically going shopping, right? It's like you're shopping ahead of time. And I remember the very first Kickstarter I pledged was a tarot deck, and it was a decade ago, and it was the first time that I think that that it clicked for me, the concept of, oh, they want to make this, or they want to make a second edition or something like that. And if I, like, pre-order it now through the Kickstarter, then they have the money up front for the production costs. Ooh, 20K and 42. That's a lucky number. That's nice.
What is that? How is that relevant?
42. Well, 42 is the meaning of life, according to Douglas Adams in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, there you go. That's interesting.
But anyway, should I talk a little bit about the book that people will be pre-ordering if
they talk about the creative team? Who?
Yes, let's talk about the creative team. Great idea. So the creative team behind SfSx Terms of Service, which is the follow-up to SfSx Protection, that first book I was talking about that's out now. We're hard at work on SfSx Terms of Service now and have been for many months. So the designer editor is Lauren McCubbin. Lauren also is the designer and I believe editor as well on Bitch Planet and Moonstruck and lots of other awesome projects. And then and so the illustrator is G. Romero Johnson. G. Romero Johnson, actually, I mean, I guess you can show it on the. Well, okay, I was gonna go get one of the risographs, but you can people can check out the Kickstarter and see an image of it.
You did hit, so we have to see if you're wearing pants or not.
Oh, right. Okay. Wasn't prepared for this. Okay.
Are you? You could. It's a yes or no if you want. Oh, you're not.
I'm not.
You're not anymore.
I'll tell. Well, I mean, I'm wearing my awesome Nightcrawler shirt.
Nightcrawler, cool.
But yeah, I mean, I'm wearing booty shorts.
Oh, there you go. So she's not wearing pants.
There's your horny on Maine. Yeah, it's technically street legal. It's street legal.
Yeah.
For me.
So there you go. Go get the art.
Okay.
Tina Horns, everyone. She's getting the art for the Kickstarter, and you can back that on. There's a link in the description. Here we go. Here it is.
Back it. See, this is my comfort zone. Actually, is shaking my ass on camera.
There you go.
So this is one of the things that you can get. It is original art by G. Romero Johnson, who is the new illustrator on SfSx. G is like, this is a classic situation of like following zine culture and like having friends who like know what is up in like indie queer porn. In this case, my friend Joan from Blue Stockings connected me to G. Romero Johnson, and hot pants are still pants. Yes, thank you so much for that comment. And so this is totally an example of somebody who is going to be fucking huge, who I have the opportunity to work with like before they explode. G's work is so amazing. It kind of reminds me of the Hernandez brothers. It definitely reminds me of Charles Burns, but is also just like so their own style and like really actually I think kind of like the style of art, the like perfect style of art for this series, like from the beginning. And we've worked with many wonderful artists over the past few years, but I really think that G's is like so perfect. So this is an original risograph that they made. There's only 100 of these. You know, so as you can see, this is like not something that I would be able to like fully post. I can't, I've like sort of been testing the waters with posting this to Instagram because, you know, it has some bits on it that the algorithm
well, isn't it
probably not
well,
like,
I don't know. Yeah, that's true.
If it's
no,
art,
there's
you know,
so many. You're right. Yeah. So
G is really great. G made this, and then so they're illustrating the book. They're doing the pencils and inks, and then Kelly Fitzpatrick, who is just
who's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! So prolific, and also definitely out about you know, like having like an erotic element to her art, and a lot of like kink and BDSM stuff to her art. So that makes Kelly really perfect. So Kelly's doing the colors. You could definitely see some of the early pages of the collaboration between G and Kelly if you go to the Kickstarter campaign. And then our letterer is Steve Wands, who is just like our like token straight white guy, but he's like, you know, he's like one of the good ones. I really love Steve, and I think his work is like, it's like solid when it needs to be and like creative when it needs to be, and like he's just like, he's so sweet and so great. And Tula Lote did the wraparound cover. She did a lot of the covers for the first run as well, most of them actually. That's everybody, right? not forgetting. I'm not forgetting someone.
No, I think you. I mean, who designed the pin?
Lauren McCubbin designed the pin.
Okay,
So
cool.
the pin says "Love is dangerous, bring protection,"
Yeah.
and yeah, and so the new book. I'll talk about a couple of things. So so SfSx terms of service. We're skipping the floppy stage and just doing like straight to original graphic novel. Um, and so it is a continuation of the story from Safe Sex Protection, which collects the first 7 issues. But I definitely think that, I would love for people to catch up on the first volume before getting Terms of Service. But I think if you just discover Terms of Service, it's gonna be its own story unto itself. I think it's all gonna make sense and be like captivating and be like have a lot of the same stuff that people loved from the first book and that we loved doing, but also really like a lot of new different elements as well. And so it's in the same world where, I talked a little bit about the villains and this like sort of like authoritarian government theocracy called the Party. And then of course the like heroes are this group of underground queer sex working leather perverts who call themselves the Dirty Mind, and they're just like trying to survive in this dystopia and then trying to like rescue their friends when the government fucks with them, and just generally trying to like fight the power using the magic of friendship and coalition building. And so yeah, in terms of service, there is a new kind of social program being rolled out by the government called Redistro, which is about the redistribution of intimacy, which, if anybody has been following the news and the discourse from the past few years about men's rights activists, so-called men's rights activists, and incels, the redistribution of intimacy is like an actual thing that people are suggesting that we should have. And so the government is saying, like, yes, men are entitled to sex, and we are going to make sure that they have it. Even though, and so like the hypocrisy of the government being like, you dirty perverts can't have sex, but like these entitled straight white guys can't have sex is definitely like part of the social critique that is going on. And Redistro is headed by Wilder, who is a cop who, if you have read issue 1 of Safe Sex, gets his eyeball stilettoed iconically by
scene.
Avery. Yeah. I think that writing this comic has like made me realize like how much fun it is to like create characters and then mutilate them in fun and interesting ways.
Which happens a lot.
Yes, it does happen a lot. I have spent a lot more time thinking about my favorite torture scenes in comics and film and television in the past few years, and being like, ooh, I could do this. I get, as a kinky person and as a dominatrix, I'm always like, how can I like do like horrible things to people that they will like enjoy and survive and that like won't actually harm them. But then when you're writing fiction, you can like do things to people that actually damage them permanently. So anyway, so Wilder is like the new big bad of this story. And the other element that we're kind of being a little bit more mysterious about has to do with these bimbos that the government is sort of providing to this like incel like cult movement, and you'll just have to read the book to find out more about the nature of those bimbos. But yeah, so that's going on, and meanwhile the Dirty Mind is trying to sort of hack into the mainframe of the Pleasure Center, which is the sort of Orwellian named center for the Party, through this like weird cyberspace. So we have this definite like holodeck lawnmower man like cyberspace world going on as well. Lots of really creepy and sexy and creepy sexy shit will be going on with that part of the story. And yeah, working with G. Romero Johnson is just so amazing. Like, I've written most of the script, but I'm like tweaking it, and we're like, art directing as we go. And there are things that I kind of thought of. I was just looking at pencils that G put up on the Slack last night, and I was like, so magical. I'm not a visual artist at all. So like, except like as a performance artist, but I don't, nothing on the
Right.
can't make sculptures
Same.
or drawings. So it's so amazing as a writer to like come up with something and be like, you want it to be funny, you want the feelings and the emotional dynamics between the characters to be evident. You want it to be scary, you want there to be tension, you want it to be surprising, you want it to be like erotic, you want to pop the boners, like whatever. and then you like send these scripts that you hope are working to, if you're lucky, and if you're as lucky as me and you've worked with as many amazing visual artists in comics as I have, you're just like, oh shit, that thing I wanted to be funny is funny. But like partially because of what I did, but mostly because of what they're doing. And it's a really beautiful feeling. So I'm really stoked about that. I'm stoked for more people to be introduced to all of these artists and to discover them through this project. And the support has been amazing. We sold out of the G has been generous enough to draw people as cameos into the book. And we were like, okay, we got to set this at, it's the most expensive, or it's the highest level tier money wise. And a deal at twice the price, frankly. And G was like, sure, great, awesome, let's set that 10. And then we sold out of those before we sold out of anything else. And so we were like, if people want to see themselves drawn into this book, like, so G generously offered to add another 10, and those are now starting to go fast. I think there's only like 6 left. So if you want to see yourself drawn by this fucking person doing sexy things in the background of a sexy dystopian sex club, you gotta go to that Kickstarter and check it out. But yeah, if you just want to get the books, you can get the books. If you want pins, if you want risographs, we're doing covers, just like posters of the 2 issue 1 covers. So that's the cover by Tula Lotte, and then the variant cover of issue 1 by Katie Skelly, because we sold out of our first print run of issue 1. And so I got to bring in Katie Skelly, who's one of my favorite indie comics artists, to do that cover, so you can get posters of those.
That's awesome.
And you can, there's like Zoom parties, which will kind of be like this, either one-on-one with me or like with a group of other fans. And I think I've mentioned everything. I'm signing the books that exist already. That actually sold out. I like had to go check and see like how many comps I have, because we set that at 100. And that sold out. And I was like,
oh, wow.
So,
Well, you can always order more trades, if you need, which is, one of the good things about having a publishing partner like Image Comics, where that is available to you. So congratulations.
I'm very grateful to, I'm grateful to so many people. I'm just filled with gratitude. I have an attitude of gratitude today.
No, it's great that you get to personally see everybody's name, who's supporting you and who's not. We see who's not.
That list is much shorter.
So if you don't want to be on the other list, you should be on the good Kickstarter backing list. And congratulations.
You're in good company with some of the sexiest fucking people I know.
Yeah.
So join the party.
Yeah, get in on this party. Congratulations. I'm very honored I got to be here with you when you hit the mark.
I know,
stretch goals are coming.
I would could pop some champagne, but I think I need to get out in that sunshine and do some exercising later.
Right.
So champagne, I will have some private champagne time later. I will probably post about it on the interwebs. So you should follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Tina Horn's ass or at Tina Horn.
So there's going to be stretch goals, which I tried to stress multiple times.
You did. You did. I felt, I mean, not to get too into the weeds, I felt a little overwhelmed by the logistics of like
I
printing new
agree.
things or like
It's a
including new
lot.
things and like all of that. I'm like really trying to like keep it simple. It's my first time, so I'm trying to be gentle with
Yes.
myself. But you did
Good.
stress it a lot, and I have to say I am you were right. And I did some preliminary, thinking about it and then talking with the team this week. And so we actually just posted I updated the campaign page, and now that we are fully funded, I'm gonna update everything everywhere.
Great.
So right now the two stretch goals are, so we just hit 20K, which means most people watching this probably know, but if we had like stopped making, if people had stopped pledging after this morning, which I don't know, like maybe that would happen, then we wouldn't have seen any of the money and no one would have gotten drawn into the dirty mind and would have been very sad. But now that we have hit our goal, we at the very least are getting that money. That's how it works, right, Henry?
You're getting what? I'm sorry. What's your question?
Oh, I'm just saying, like, if we hadn't hit our goal, it's like all
Yeah.
or nothing, right? So like if you
Yeah.
don't hit
Yeah.
your, and that's like you have to find that sweet spot of like, you know, you wanna set like a high goal for yourself, but
Right.
also if you don't make that goal, then you don't get any money, right?
Exactly. It is all or nothing. So
But so now that
people,
we've made that,
yeah,
we at the very least are going to get that 20K,
you're
which
gonna get the
covers,
20K. There's
yeah.
15K that Kickstarter takes. Some people like to make digital wallpapers, increase page rates for creators. That's what famously Iron Circus does, and I think that's why they do
Hmm.
so well. So
Well,
there, you have.
what we decided to do is to offer digital zines. So we're gonna hopefully, if we hit these goals, which we'll hit them. When we hit 25K, then every backer is going to get, a DRM free PDF digital zine. Everybody on this art team comes from a zine background. And so making it digital means that you get to get it quicker, and it also keeps production and shipping costs down. And we're going to include, people have been asking about being able to see my scripts, which I can understand because people read a lot of my other kind of writing. So being able, and I love reading scripts. I have like a ton of scripts of my favorite movies like on my shelf. And actually, like, I remember being a kid and loving reading, like when Neil Gaiman like included like annotated scripts in the back of like Sandman trades. So other people who are nerdy like me will want to read those scripts. And we're going to include some of the like interviews with sex workers and sex worker artists that were in the floppies that are not currently available in the trades. So if you
Hmm.
never got your hands on any of the floppies, sort of that like back matter,
Oh, that's great.
it is gonna be included there, including an interview with Red Canary Song, some organizers with Red Canary Song who are a New York-based organization that serves the Asian and Asian American Pacific Islander migrant community working in massage parlors, like in Flushing, Queens, and around the
Oh,
world.
wow.
So that's an extremely, what they have to say in that interview is, which I did that interview over a year ago, is like of vital importance to a lot of conversations that we are having in the world right now.
I agree.
Uh, so all of that stuff is going to be in there, and then we're going to have like new exclusive stuff that is more focused on the like new team and the like terms of service project. And then if we hit 30K, we're going to do another zine that is going to have way more new stuff. I am going to write, if we hit 30K, I am going to dust off my erotica prose writing pens, chops, tippity taps.
Type
Um,
typewriter.
uh, yeah, I'm gonna bust out my glass of champagne and my old timey typewriter, um, and write some fucking porn.
There we
in
go.
the world of the Dirty Mind and with characters from the Dirty Mind.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I figure, the thing is that so much of my work and a lot of my fan base that is coming to comics from following my work for a while, probably when they first heard I was making a comic, like assumed that it was either porn or sex ed, especially with a name like SfSx, which is like really great. I do a lot of porn work and a lot of sexual education work for adults. But then they're like, oh, this like weird body horror sci-fi social thriller thing. So I think I converted some fans to the world of comics, and I'm excited about that.
Great.
And
that's great.
But anyway, I kind of wanted to maybe like reward some of those people who maybe want to. There's a lot of things that I would like to write about things that have happened to these characters and with these characters that I haven't written because the like propulsion of the like action genre like kind of makes it like you can't linger too long on this, so
Definitely.
so yeah, and then people who are discovering it like because they're comics fans or genre fiction fans, those people like porn too, right? so that's gonna be fun, and we're gonna have like spot illustrations from a bunch of different artists. I think if we hit the 30K in that zine, I'll also annotate a few of my scripts, which as somebody who watched like every DVD commentary track on like every movie back when DVDs were a thing.
Oh yeah.
And I was a teenager, I think that'll be a lot of fun, and a lot of people I think will be interested in that.
That's
so
great.
yeah, and I'm gonna make more mixtapes. I made mixtapes for the first book, and make more. So it's just gonna be like a lot of really fun new content available in just like one like digital ebook form. So that's what we've got cooking right now. But I'm definitely open to more ideas, especially from the people who have backed already or people who are considering backing, or will be like, oh, well, I will back more
Definitely.
if you provide XYZ. So I'm open.
There you go. Tina Horn is open for business, everyone. Tina, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having
jumping
me.
on. Yeah, so good to see you. And
I'm so glad we got
these...
to share this moment.
Me too. This is great. This is made my Saturday.
Let's pop some bottles soon.
I'm looking forward to it. And we can find you on Twitter, Tina Horn's Ass, Instagram, Kickstarter right now.
Yeah.
And soon at your local library, comic shop, bookstore.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone for tuning in.
Thank you. We'll see you later. Bye. Oh, how do I... Here we go. Remove. There we go. Everyone, before people are still watching, if you want to do these kinds of things, just do it. Do a live stream. Do a podcast. Act like no one's listening. Act like you're the kid in Wet Hot American Summer that's not plugged into a radio and you're just talking to the void. Because aren't we all just talking to the void? So I'm going to try to do this again next week. Support Tina, support me, support everyone, and get vaccinated, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.